If recent history is any indication, the Patriots aren't going to force it at quarterback. In what looked like a loaded class last year, Bill Belichick opted to sit tight with both first-rounders and steer clear of passers until taking LSU's Danny Etling in the 7th round. In fact, the Patriots have made significant investments at the position at times when it seemed like they needed anything but another arm behind Tom Brady. In 2014 they took Jimmy Garoppolo in the 2nd round. In 2016 they took Jacoby Brissett in the 3rd. Considering those moves, one would think the Patriots set their board and stick to it. One would think, even with a quarterback who will be 42 this season, they'd take the same approach this spring. Or maybe they'll force the issue. We don't know. It's not considered to be a strong class of signal callers in Indy this week for the Combine, with 2 players dominating the first-round conversation, Oklahoma's Kyler Murray and Ohio State's Dwayne Haskins, and 2 more, Missouri's Drew Lock and Duke's Daniel Jones, potentially sneaking in. If the Patriots want to wait until day 2 or 3 to add to their quarterback room, though anyone available at that point won't be without their warts, there are some intriguing prospects. Here are a few questions worth asking about this year's draft class of passers as we try to get a sense of which players might work out at one Patriot place. What's the most important event? While it might be entertaining to watch quarterbacks throw in a relatively high-pressure situation, with potential employers eyeballing their every move, the on-the-field portion of the Combine for this group isn't all that critical. Quarterbacks can make a real impression in the interviews, though. How are they, on the board, in terms of explaining their college offense or discussing a defensive look? How composed are they if and when they face difficult questions? How do they carry themselves from the moment they walk in the room? How do they process whatever information they're given? For those tasked with handling the most difficult position on the field, what they do off the field this week will be key. WHO has the most to gain. Will Greer put up big-time numbers? He made game-winning plays late. He showed he could be accurate to all areas of the field. But he did so in the defensively deficient Big 12. Having a solid Senior Bowl might prove to any doubters that his skills would translate against stiffer competition. Instead, he looked like anything but the quarterback who lit things up for West Virginia. He had trouble with his accuracy, and he came off as a little sensitive in media availability periods. I don't understand some of the things that have been put out there, Greer said, per Yahoo Sports. I'm the best quarterback in this draft. If he has answers to questions about his performance in Mobile and shows he can handle a little criticism in interviews, he could help himself in the eyes of some teams. He's going to want them to leave knowing that his Senior Bowl was just a few bad days of practice. WHO has the most to lose. Kyler Murray is a player with all kinds of ability. Some will be turned off by his size, but there isn't much he can do about that. What will bother teams is if in interviews he doesn't sell them on his commitment to football. He's announced that the NFL is his lone focus, even after being made a top pick by the A's last year. But teams will be asking him how serious he is about their game, and he'll have to have answers ready to go. He'll have to convince them. Is this a situation where he'll go back to baseball if he's in a city or a situation he loathes? Will he be willing to compete for a job, or if he isn't given one, will he be gone? How he defends his choice this week could be the difference between him being taken at the top of the draft or sliding down. Who's the biggest freak? Murray is the fastest player at the position and would have the most impressive numbers when it comes to athletic testing. He could end up testing like a running back. But there's also a chance he doesn't end up running. Mississippi State's Nick Fitzgerald could end up being one of the best testers of the group. At 6'5", 225 pounds, he looks like a prototypical passer, but he can move, both in terms of agility and top-end speed, and might be viewed by some teams as a raw prospect who could contribute as a running quarterback in certain situations a la Taysom Hill in New Orleans. Who's the prototypical Patriot? The Patriots have typically drafted quarterbacks who played in Power 5 conferences and are 6'3" or taller, though their lone, first or second round selection under Belichick, Jimmy Garoppolo, was 6'2" and played FCS football. Their hands usually measure more than 9 inches, though 2008 third-rounder Kevin O'Connell didn't hit that mark. Their career touchdown-to-interception ratio averaged out to be 2.2 to 1. Their yards per attempt was often 7.5 or better, and they normally completed better than 60% of their passes. If the Patriots take into account the Bill Parcells rules for drafting passers, the qualifications being 3 years as a starter, senior, graduated, started 30 games, won 23 games, 2-to-1 touchdown-to-interception ratio, completion percentage over 60, then that narrows the options. Garoppolo met every qualification. There are actually only 2 quarterbacks in this class who meet all 7 of the criteria: NC State's Ryan Finley and Boise State's Brett Rypien. We had Rypien, 6'2", 210 pounds, going to the Patriots on day 3 in our recent 7th-round mock. If we combine the Parcells rules with the fact that the Patriots usually like taller passers from Power 5 schools, then the prototype is Finley, 6'4", 208. Interestingly enough, Rypien actually beat out Finley for the starting job at Boise, resulting in Finley's transfer to NC State. The Patriots have dipped into the Wolfpack quarterback room before, of course, taking Brissett 3 years ago. Click here to download the new My Teams app by NBC Sports. Receive comprehensive coverage of your teams and stream the Celtics easily on your device. Indianapolis, it started with Patrick Pass, technically. But then came Richard Seymour, and 3 years later Ben Watson, both in the first round. Georgia was a certified training ground for Bill Belichick's Patriots. That was eons ago in the football world, but Georgia is once again churning out prospects who end up in New England. David Andrews was signed as an undrafted free agent in 2015, and he's now a captain and 2-time champion. Malcolm Mitchell was drafted in the 4th round 3 years ago and gave the team one good season that culminated in a clutch Super Bowl performance. Last spring, the Patriots drafted 2 more Bulldogs. One, Sony Michel, was the team's no. 1 running back, a reason New England was able to go old school with their power running game throughout the playoffs. The other, Isaiah Wynn, looks like he could be Tom Brady's left tackle in 2019. With a whopping 9 Georgia players attending this year's Combine, the Patriots could dip back into Athens for its next wave of young talent. While corner DeAndre Baker might be off the board by the time the Patriots draft at no. 32, receiver Riley Ridley and tight end Isaac Nauta both could be available in the late 1st or 2nd rounds. Both explained on Friday why they believed the Patriots program was such a good fit for players coming from their particular corner of the SEC. "I think it's a culture thing," Nauta said. "I think that the Patriots have really good culture and that's why they win football games. I think Georgia has got a really good culture, too. We practice the right way, we set a standard for how we play, and I think that translates kind of to what they do. And I think that's why you've seen a lot of dogs go to the Patriots. At Georgia, we practice really, really hard," Ridley said. "I can assume that at the Patriots they do the same. I heard from Sony that they do those things. If you have good practice habits, those types of things transition to the game, and I really believe that the coaches believe in that. Sony told me that the New England Patriots practice is just like the University of Georgia practice, but maybe not just as intense because we're in college, American football, more NFL Combine coverage." Pat's meeting with top tight ends QBs Greer, Finley praised New England drafting Ridley, who measured in at 6'1" and 199 pounds this week, could help the Patriots fill what is looking like a void as an outside-the-numbers wideout. But he didn't pigeonhole himself into one role Friday. He struck a tone in Indy that the Patriots might appreciate in terms of his potential positional versatility. For me," said Ridley, whose brother Calvin was a first-round pick of the Falcons last year, "it's like this, if a coach needs me to line up inside, that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to give him 110% at each and every rep. I want to separate myself from a lot of people in this draft. I want to be the best I can be." Nauta was another player who felt as though he could give his next team, whether that's the Patriots or anyone else, a versatile skill set at his position. Though Nauta is about 3 inches shorter and 20 pounds lighter than Rob Gronkowski, he felt as though their games did have a few similarities. They both can catch, they both can block, and they both enjoy both. "With me and him, I think we both catch the ball well and we both block well," Nauta said. "Obviously I gotta improve in a lot of areas to eventually be on that level. He's a great tight end, one of the best of all time. But I think our styles are the same. Obviously different body types, but I'm willing to go get the ball and willing to block people just like he does." Ridley met with the Patriots in Indy this week and Nauta was scheduled to meet with the team as well. Both would fill apparent needs, depending on how free agency shakes out, and depending on whether or not Gronkowski will play in 2019. Same goes for Georgia receiver Mecole Hardman, 5'10", 187, who may be one of the fastest players at this year's Combine, as well as edge defender Jonathan Ledbetter, 6'4", 280, whose length may be enticing to the Patriots on their defensive front. None of them are perfect prospects, but they all have one thing going for them: they played at Georgia. That experience in arguably the nation's best conference, playing under head coach Kirby Smart, goes a long way in New England. Click here to download the new My Teams app by NBC Sports. Receive comprehensive coverage of your teams and stream the Celtics easily on your device. 30. Phil Perry reports from the NFL Combine from Indianapolis. The latest news and notes around the Patriots. 6 o'clock, Phil Perry talks with Bruce Feldman, Fox Sports senior college football columnist. They discuss this draft's QB class, and whether he thinks the Patriots will draft a QB. 1500, Phil Perry talks with Will Grier, who was the QB for the West Virginia Mountaineers. They discuss why Grier thinks he is the best QB in the draft, and why his struggles in Senior Bowl do not reflect his potential. 1930, Wisconsin FB Alec Ingold discusses being one of the few fullbacks at the Combine. How would he feel about joining the Patriots? And what does he think of the Patriots offense utilizing the fullback position? Click here to download the new My Teams app by NBC Sports. Receive comprehensive coverage of your teams and stream the Celtics easily on your device.